The regular season is finally here. The weather's getting colder, but it doesn't matter. Cuddle up. We got blankets. And you know what we also have? We have podcasts. We have gifts. Find us on Spotify, iTunes, Twitter.com, MIA in the Hunt. Play bingo with us. Follow our gifts. If you followed us on Twitter, you'd already know that Minkah Fitzpatrick's new nickname is Minkah Sixpatrick. That's to go with Gronk's stuff. But before you forget, iTunes, Podbean, Spotify. Follow us. Now, let's talk a little golf. In the Hump Podcast, week 1, almost in the books. We got 2 games left, but those games don't matter because I don't know about you, Topher. I'm undefeated.
Yeah, I'm undefeated. That game was... Where do you start with that game? Like, do you talk about the game itself? Do you talk about the theatrics around the game? Like, I don't know where do you begin because it was such a Dolphins-type event.
I don't think we'll ever have a normal season ever again. I just don't think it's possible.
It was just like, really? Like, this is happening to this team? Like, this type of thing? Like, a lightning delay? Like, there was no rain at all. Like, it rained at the beginning of the game. But, like, it was just the lightning around the area that caused the issue.
Absolutely.
And people were there. Like, I feel bad for the people who went, but at least they got, like, a show towards the end of the game. And let me ask you this, Jake. If you're the NFL, are you happy that happened based off the results and the way the game finished? Or are you mad? Or, like, did they botch it?
I don't think they botched it. In reality, I think this game was probably the lowest on the Fox docket because they had Chris Carter, who actually didn't do it too bad, but then they had this other guy, and I've never heard of him in my life. I've never seen him before in my life. He did an okay job, but these were announcers. Nobody was worried about this game. The way I look at it, like between the end of the 4 o'clock games and the start of the Sunday night game, there's like that hour like with no football, and you're kind of just sitting there.
Yeah.
That cured it. Instead we got to see Jakeem Grant and Kenny Stills, show some wheels. I don't think they botched it. I mean, obviously they could have played. It seemed like lightning, or people keep posting, pictures. Where's the clouds? Where's the clouds? Where's the lightning? And I guess they have a point. They could have finished the game, I feel. But I mean, you're right where it kind of ruined your day. You're not gonna leave. It's opening day. We're jazzed up. We're ready to watch some football. And I was sitting in my recliner, and I'm sure you were too. Having a couple of beverages throughout the day, and I just slowly, you're watching a game, you're at a 90-degree angle, you're sitting up straight. Slowly I just started to fall backwards until it was like 6:30, and I was at 180. I was leaned all the way back, just like, kill me. I just want to see the end of this game. And all we had going through our heads was, I swear to God, if we sat here for 8 hours and lost to Blaine Gabbert, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind.
I was fully prepared for them to lose that type of game. Swear to God, it was right when Derrick Henry, made that run.
Yep.
I was like, that's it. That's the dagger. Like, that's it right there. And it got called back for holding, and I was like, holy crap! I guess there is like some football god going on, because that was the game where like you thought they would lose it,
right?
Because of just what happened.
Exactly.
And all it took is just one like weird random play of Derrick Henry finally doing something, because he wasn't doing nothing the entire game.
No, you're right.
But yeah, the game. Once the rain delays started, once the lightning delays, and we started to resume, I was waiting for like the dagger to come on the Dolphins, and it never did. The second half of the game was, or I don't know, like the third half of the game. I don't know what you say, what you call it. But it was actually very entertaining.
No doubt.
And that was the craziest part. And it was probably entertaining because, one, the players were just a mess.
Mm.
They've been at the stadium since 10 o'clock. And you have all these, you're playing, you're sitting, you're playing, you're sitting, and injuries are piling up. And I think a lot of it was fun because they were all fatigued.
Right.
And it was just kind of like, whatever, man. Like we had fights. We had a fight, like, with Taylor Lewan, like he got jacked up, and that people forget about that because there was so many delays that took place that, like, I don't even know what you take away from that game if you were to take anything from it except, like, adversity, I guess.
I want to start with Malcolm Butler because if you look back to last year, Malcolm Butler didn't play in the Super Bowl because Bill Belichick didn't trust him. He comes out, first play, I thought, oh shit, it's Malcolm Butler, is when he pile drive Jakeem Grant. And we're just sitting there like, bro, what are you doing? Of course that's going to be 15 yards. And then I think he made a good play and did the fins up thing. I'm like, all right, this guy's really starting to get on my nerves. And then he caught a pick six or an interception, which we'll talk about Gesicki in just a second. But then the Stills touchdown, where my Photoshop's out there. It's not too great, but you do what you can with a computer. Where he just fell to the ground and eating like Stills' dirt basically as he ran into the end zone. And I was just sitting there like, man, like you could send out some harsh tweets after this, and you kind of gotta be like, okay, makes sense why Belichick maybe didn't want to trust a guy who's given up 75-yard touchdowns. You know what I mean?
Yeah, outside of the one pick in the Super Bowl, he's just kind of been a guy.
Right, exactly.
And so, it did help him last year. And, I mean, do you think you're happy that you don't got to deal with the Dolphins anymore? I would probably, because it's just like not again. Like the second time in that stadium, he's just gotten dominated.
Yep.
On big plays.
And it's like in every team that plays against the Dolphins, I think back, we'll forget about last year, but we're never going to have just a normal season because we could go back to the sprinkler delay where the Dolphins end up winning that game. There's just so many random things that just happens to this team. And usually, a lot of people say this like, oh, well, it's the Dolphins and, it only happens to us. But for this, it kind of seems like it does. You don't hear about this stuff happening, anywhere else in the league. Maybe once in a while, but even in the lightning delay, there was like some kid running around on the field.
Yeah.
Who let Jakeem Grant out on the field?
Yes. And yeah, so like it's just like a compilation of all that stuff. And it's just like, yeah, this would only happen to the Dolphins.
Exactly.
Because like I was reading an article, I think it was Armando or Beasley wrote it, that like they ate all their food that they were supposed to eat post game. They ate it all during the game. Because they had to stay they had to basically stay fueled up. They were like exercising. Some were taking pads off, watching Red Zone. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know what I would do during that game because you got to sit here and stay focused, but at the same time you can't sit around. You can't like get late. You also like what do? You got to be a human at least. I mean, right?
Yeah, because I mean, you think of this stuff happening, and you go to baseball, and I think baseball is a lot easier because you're not moving around 100% speed all the time. Where I don't think I'd be able to do that. If I go in the locker room, it was already pouring rain for a quarter. I'm going to want to, all right, I got my food. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to take a nap. That's what I end up doing. That's why I'm not a football player. Because there's no way
instant power nap. Like instant power nap, right?
Yep. And that just shows this team's going to be fun. I think, there's going to be some plays throughout the entire season where you're like, bro, what just happened? Like, why did we do that? But overall, I think this team's gonna do enough to keep us jazzed up. And let's start talking about the what are you doing plays. The Mike Gesicki fade route. So to paint the picture a little bit, the play before, I think it was the play before, he got his first career reception.
Was this after the delay or before the delay? I forget. Was it after the first delay? It was after the first delay.
After the first, before the second. He got the first catch. He did a fist pump leg kick.
It was awesome.
And then you knew right away when he was lined up all alone on the left side against Butler.
It was a tell.
You're like, please, God, no. Don't throw a fade. I've never seen the Dolphins do a successful fade in my life. I remember Deion Sims almost dying because of a fade.
Against Washington.
Yep. And it's just like, we got to learn. We can't be doing these fades. Gesicki, it looked like quicksand. He took 2 steps and he went nowhere. And then fell on his face. And we can bring this up again, and I don't want to be the I told you so guy, but this is why you practice stuff in the preseason. So you can know, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that.
I have no problem with the play call. I really don't. Like, I think you drafted him for that reason. Yeah, you drafted Gesicki for that reason. To catch fade routes and to use a bigger body. So the play calling didn't bother me. In fact, I probably would have called the same thing when you got a guy like that. We saw the highlights of it in training camp. Like we would constantly see those type of highlights, on the Finns social media team. So that didn't bother me. It was just like the execution looked like they've never done it before.
Right.
And so I obviously you put the blame on Tannehill because it was just like, what kind of throw is that? At least throw it towards the boundary. Mm-hmm. So if it's incomplete, it's out of bounds. But then I also put a lot of it on Gesicki because it looked like he didn't know what to do. Like he wasn't like expecting the physical play right out of the gate from Malcolm Butler. And so that like I think I'm gonna put blame on both of them.
Right.
Because they just need to work on it. And you can't have a team like the Dolphins who's been in the red, like I feel like they were in the red zone the entire time.
It sure seemed like that. You're right.
And so you can't have it where you score 20 points on offense when you have that many trips to the red zone where they end in field goals, interceptions, like, fourth, where they go for it on fourth down. Like I don't have a problem with the going for it on fourth down. But like with that fade route, they just need to work on it more, or just do something different with Gesicki, like run a quick slant on the inside, and let that happen because you knew it was going to happen. He was under center, everybody was lined up on the other side of the field. Exactly. And it didn't shock me at all. It was just the reaction. I was just like, really? Like I waited that long for that crap? Like my hope of him being drafted was this, and I saw that. I was like, whatever. Dolphins.
I guess the way I want to look at it is the offense showed, we talked a little bit about it before the show, that everything looked unique. First play of the game, you have Frank Gore and Kenyon Drake on the field, and it goes for like
so much.
Awesome. It was awesome. So when you see that,
and then Juwan James holding,
and then Juwan
or Larry Tunsil holding, and I was like, bingo.
Tunsil had a hold. James had a hold. Tunsil had a false start, and it's weird because then you had the play like with Gesicki and the play where they did no huddle at the line of scrimmage, and just ran it up the middle. When you're sitting there like, come on, this offense needs to be creative. It's not like you can have Gesicki on one side and peak Devontae Parker on the other and throw it up and someone be like, oh no, we're not prepared for this. They're going to be prepared for that. You need to be confusing as hell, especially in the red zone, because that's how this team's going to play. You can't lean on one guy over and over. The offense just isn't talented enough, but it's incredibly talented if, you have a couple plays where Albert Wilson's in the backfield. Amendola has a couple catches.
Yeah.
We could talk about, you put it in our chat yesterday, Wilson was running the ball and he was trying to pitch the ball, which
he had the option to pitch it.
Exactly, which is going to be awesome. They need to continuously do stuff like that to be good, because the second you sit out, not necessarily sit out a play, or even be lazy, but go to a play call where it's Madden, I guess, is that a fair way to put it? You're just kind of
like very traditional play call.
Exactly. That's when you kind of get into the area where this offense might stall. But we're kind of being we're being a little negative here, and the Dolphins won the game. And
they did. It was just the way it happened that it just took so long for the win to come that I was pumped they won, but it was just like, man, it took forever to get that win, and it's because of obviously Mother Nature.
Exactly. I think we'd feel a lot more sour about the win if the fourth quarter didn't go the way it did. Say that all that happened in the first quarter before the delays, we might be a little more slowed down about it. But let's talk about the running game for a minute, because Drake looked great. He had the one play. Drake's always trying to do everything he can to get extra yards. So when we look at that fourth down where he landed out of bounds, he could have caught it in bounds, and I don't blame anyone but him for that. But at the same time, I understand what he was trying to do. He was trying to turn up field to get more yards. Instead, he should have done, I guess it's a vet move, and I'm sure he's going to learn this over time, where, just get the feet down. You got the first down. Do not worry about anything else. Just take what you can get. Gore looked great, and on the Jakeem Grant kick return, Sonoris Perry had a huge block that opened up the entire field.
Oh, yeah. As far as the running backs, Brandon Bolden was making plays.
I saw that. Yeah, exactly.
It was just weird. It was like, all right, this guy got picked up last week, and now he's on the team, making plays. He was part of he was involved in the play where Dory Jackson got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the running backs, it's weird because you're not gonna have Drake getting 20 carries a game. He's
I don't think
he won't even have that.
Yeah, I don't think.
No, I think you just want. I think the way it played out, I'm excited for because it's basically like a split duty, right? Like it's just if you have Drake in fantasy, it's gonna come down to Drake busting a play open, which he is so good at making these random like 4-yard plays turn into 10 or 12.
Exactly. You can kind of tell though. Kenny and Drake was on the field a lot more. Obviously, that comes for when he's rushing and he's a threat out of the receiving game. But it seemed like Gore didn't really have as many snaps, but when he was in, he got the ball.
I think the only time they might, the running game needs to get better is when they're in the red zone. Because, they had, when they got the ball back, I think it was after the Kiko Alonso pick, they settled for a field goal.
And that's because they hurried to the line and just ran it on 3rd and 1. I mean, the reason you hurry to the line, the reason you do a fast-paced offense is to confuse defenses. So when you get up to the line, you're under center, everyone knows you're going to run the ball. That's why you got to do some sort of play action, and that's, I guess, one little thing that I guess bothered me. But,
The running game was fine, though. I think that's what you want. With that kind of offense, it needs to be like that, where it's just you're just gashing a team on the ground. They averaged, looking at it right now, 4.1 yards per carry.
Exactly. That's huge.
On 29 carries.
Let's jump sides for a second. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the defense?
I thought they kind of wore down in spurts with Dion Lewis. I thought they contained Derrick Henry better. Mm-hmm. And I think that Derrick Henry just is too big and too jacked for football. So no matter how fast he is, he can't. It's just easier to get him.
Right.
While Dion Lewis is more shifty, and you saw it. There were plays where for every time Rashad Jones jacked him up, he would spin and run for 20 yards.
Exactly.
And it was the one play. I think the play I would be referring to is Rashad Jones jacked him up right after that big run that he had.
Yep.
Where he just went crazy spin zone, spin cycle. But I was impressed compared to what we had in preseason, where it was just a nightmare. Outside of it, I thought the run defense was fine. I think my biggest issue with the team is Minkah wasn't guarding your tight end. When I saw Delaney Walker get some catches, I was like, why'd you draft Minkah?
Exactly, because I noticed this early on, especially before the first delay. TJ McDonald did not look good, and we signed him. I was excited for him, this big physical safety, but since he got here, and even they signed him to this contract, he really hasn't looked the part. I know this is being really I guess nitpicky, but he missed some tackles. He got ran over a couple times. He was the guy guarding the tight ends who Delaney Walker was having an awesome game because missed tackles from McDonald and things like that, where I'm a little concerned that we're stuck with this guy who needs to step up.
Yeah, he just looks average at best. But I was actually impressed with Bobby McCain. I thought he was fine. I mean, he's gonna keep getting picked on because he's unproven. And you know what? I guess just if you want to keep throwing at him, I guess he'll do something about he'll be successful. It's just weird because you don't know. They were obviously taking chances at him. They took one shot to the end zone on Bobby McCain, and it was an incomplete pass.
Yeah, the receiver, I think he caught the ball, but then he headbutted it and it went flying.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't ask for anything better than that.
But yeah, I thought this. I mean, overall the defense was good. I mean, granted they played against Blaine Gabbert, and when they had Mariota in. The only gripe I have with the defense is the middle of the field. It was just wide open so many times.
Right.
Corey Davis had some big plays in the middle. Delaney Walker did. But they're quick. You have Minkah Fitzpatrick, just closing in on everything. If he's in the area.
Sixpatrick.
Yeah. Was it the fourth down he stopped? He stopped at fourth down?
That was awesome.
Yeah, and they've never had a guy like that outside. It's having two Rashad Jones on the field. It
really is. And what's interesting is Chris Carter talked a lot about this. Rashad was a 5th-round pick, and he was saying how he talked to Gase, and Gase was saying how Rashad's so much more comfortable because he's seen so many schemes. He's been around so long. But now all of a sudden, you got Minkah out here, this rookie who's doing it all. He was a firm hand grip away from a pick 6 late in the game. And I can't think of the last time a Dolphins rookie played this well. this early on. And I mean, I don't think we expected it, but now, you know, we see this and we're like, all right, he's got to keep getting better and better. And I think he's going to. So Topher, can you think of the last rookie the Dolphins had that were like, wow, like week 1 was such a great impact?
I really don't know. I mean, Deion Jordan, he didn't play really week 1.
He didn't play at all, dude.
Yeah, like Tannehill's first game was just kind of average. And J.J. Watt kind of just destroyed him.
Yep. You could go pouncier long, but I was talking to my buddy. I wish I knew his like actual name, but on Twitter it's at GTH829C, and he was saying how if you go beyond offensive linemen, you could maybe argue Tim Bowens in 1994. Dude, that was 24 years ago.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
That's so bad.
Not gonna lie, I don't even remember.
Exactly. That's why I think we're so excited about Minkah. I'm excited about the defense. I'm gonna go back to this. I always come back to it, and he always proves me wrong. So I'm hoping he does again. Cam Wake didn't look that good.
I thought the biggest surprise for me was the defensive line not getting any sacks.
Not a single sack. I saw, Wake slipping and sliding a bunch. Quinn got close a few times. He got a face mask call, and he stopped a couple runs. But you're right. Where are the sacks? We need the sacks.
Yeah, that was the big thing was just the lack of sacks, and I don't know, maybe because like their tendency was just to get rid of the ball faster. Mm-hmm. But once the one got out, I was like, oh, this is it. Like it's over. Someone's gonna like get their arm ripped off. And there were times where Quinn was close, but I mean they all had a good game. The defensive line played good. So I don't want to like take away from that. I was just they had no sacks, and I think that's just gonna add up eventually. Like it's just gonna happen where you have a game where you don't get any, but you get a ton of pressures. And it would shock me next week that against the Jets that the defensive line just loses their mind.
Oh, I hope so. And the one thing that I saw that it just made me have the biggest smile on my face is not only did Kiko Alonso blow up a screen, he realized he had hands and caught the ball.
Yes, he has like, oh my God, what are these 10 fingers on my hand? What is this?
It was great because that's the first thing that came to my head. I'm like, he has hands. So that was very exciting for me. But Topher, we were kind of talking about this. We were going to post this. We never did because we've kind of been slacking a little bit. My prediction for the game was 27-24, and I was 4 points off from being spot on. What was your prediction?
Oh, yeah. 20-17.
Ooh, see, we're there. We're kind of riding the momentum. This article, yeah. This audio article, we'll call it that, is going to come out Tuesday morning. We're going to call it the morning after Monday QB. So let's think of let's see how smart we are. Predict the Jets Raiders game for tonight because they're two teams we're facing the next 2 weeks. And if you remember last year when the Dolphins went to New York, I was there. I was hungover as hell, and it was probably the worst game I've ever been to in my entire life. What do you expect? We see two teams tonight that the Dolphins are playing in the next 2 weeks. They face the Jets next week, who have their home opener, and they're on the road against the Lions tonight. Darnold getting his first start. And then the late game is the Rams going to the black hole to play the Raiders, who the Dolphins play in 2 weeks. What are your vibes?
I think if you could see Stafford throw the ball all over the place against the Jets, you should feel confident that the Dolphins could do something like that. Because Stafford's, I think would you say he's a good quarterback? Like I think he's pretty good.
I'd say he's top 10 for sure.
And he's got the same weapons that the Dolphins have. Like you got Golden Tate, who's just as shifty, than Albert Wilson, and Kenny Stills. So if you could see if Detroit has any success, I think that's what you kind of like build off of. Detroit's got a pass rusher in Ansah. The Dolphins got a pass rusher in Quinn. Mm-hmm. So I think if you kind of use the blueprint that if Detroit is successful, you kind of build off that. As far as Oakland, McVay, if he's supposed to be some creative genius with Todd Gurley, Gase has got to build off of that. Like they got, I think these two matchups, you just kind of go hand in hand. You kind of work with it,
right?
Because how is the defensive line of the Rams? Great, it's better than the Dolphins. It's better than the Dolphins'
no
defensive
doubt.
line.
No,
yeah. How are they gonna handle the running game and getting to Derek Carr? So the Rams defense is going to be so much better. So I don't expect much out of it. Mm-hmm. But in terms of play calling on offense, I think you could get some stuff from it.
Right. I think for me the two things I'm looking for, first the Jets is the big play potential because Robbie Anderson, big play potential.
And Pryor. They got some big guys there.
Anunwa. I think any of these guys can break the distance, and that's what I'm.
They did last year.
Exactly. That game God, I don't even want to talk about that. That was horrible. I can't believe I was there. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for. If they can stop the big plays, if Darnold can't hit the big plays, I think the Dolphins are going to have no issue there. And when we look to Oakland, I don't think their defense is going to be too great, and I think their offense is going to be very vanilla. So if we see those things, I think we should be confident about the Dolphins moving forward. But Topher, where can you find this podcast?
You can find this podcast on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We are on Spotify, so you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean. If you type in the Hunt Miami Dolphins in YouTube, you'll probably get the little audio of the podcast on there.
Yep.
And Jake, you were kind of going crazy with Twitter stuff today. I was walking home, I was walking into my house, and I'm just seeing stuff you're doing. I'm like, yeah, Jake must be hard at work with GIFs.
Oh yeah. So at MIA in the Hunt on Twitter, we're gonna start picking it up with GIFs, maybe some Photoshop. We're gonna try to be different. We're gonna try to have fun with it. Sixpatrick, we're here for the puns. We're here for the funds. In the Hunt Bingo, check it out. It's free. And you're playing bingo. You're playing Dolphin Bingo. Who would not want to do that? You could win a game of your choice. Spider-Man looks dope. You got Madden. You got 2K. You got Christmas coming up. If you're a girl who listens to the show, play some video games. Join us. Yeah. But Topher, fins up.
Fins up.